So generally we can also see these type of characters in the VLSA. There will be a steady improvement in the predictability of the circuit behavior and steady increase in the variety and size of the software tools for the VLSA design. So in present days, we have different variety of tools to verify the VLSA design circuits and verify the functionality and also to design the VLSA circuits. But in the starting days, we don't have that many number of tools, and only one company can't do all the things. Okay. Previous days, we used to take a mentor graphics is taking mentor graphics will be having model sim for verifying the functionality in digitally, and for synthesis purpose, it is taking the help of Leonardo Spectrum. Okay, Leonardo Spectrum is another company's tool, and it is taking the help for verifying the synthesis. Okay, now it is not necessary. At present, we may have a particular tool for which will be verifying all these functionalities. Okay, the so due to the improvement in the tools, so we have the best professionals in the VLSA also right now. Okay, so what we want to insist all the time here is, instead of designing with the help of hardware components directly, it's better to go with the VLSI language first and verify its functionality, and then if it works good in the digital phase, then we will go for the analog phase. In the analog phase also, we first will be doing mostly up to the generation of GDS2 file. Okay, that file will be given to the foundry. They will prepare a mask and they will create the ICs and they will give for us. Okay, for our functionality. Okay, so here you can see the ASIC design flow. Okay, so we have structural domain and we have some behavioral domains, and you can see each domain is separated with a dark color bold line. That means it want to say that this one is not going to depend on this. We can do this individually. Okay, this can be done individually, this can be done individually, this can be done individually. Okay, that is indicated with the help of dark color line here, a thick line. Okay, these are its abstractions and general basic design flows. Okay, so if you see the ASIC design in general as a major activity, if you see here, first we will have an idea, and it will be further implemented with the help of design description. Okay, design description in the sense here we may take the help of hardware description languages. First we will simulate it. You see here, first what I am doing here, it is simulation. After simulating, a simulation is for verifying the functionality. If it doesn't work properly, the output what I get is not as what I have expected, then what I have to do, I have to go once again back and I have to describe once again the language properly, and then I have to go for simulation once again until I get the correct exact functionality. I have to do the same, and if it is completed, keep aside that simulation one, and then you go for synthesis of the same description. Okay, now we will synthesize it and we will get a physical design. What is this physical design? In this, after this synthesizing, we will have some some components, and we will also find the relation between those components, how one component is connected to the other. That thing we will be identifying here. Okay, so individually they have mentioned And if you want to see the total design, basic design and development flow, it is just like this. We have an idea, we may take the help of behavioral level description or data level description or gate level description. Everything can be done individually, and then we'll simulate those and we'll optimize. Okay, we can also have switch level descriptions. After the simulation, we may go for synthesis, and after getting the synthesis properly, we can implement those content on the FPGA design board, and we can finally finalize the circuit. Okay, that is the part of digital. If you go for the analog side, that is nothing but physical design side. After the verifying the design properly in the digital, then we go for system. We will partition the particular system to small sub modules, and we'll go for the floor planning. That means which component has to be kept where on the silicon wafer die, and then we will be placing those, and we will be routing it. Routing in here in the sense wiring. Okay. After performing all this, we will extract its features and we'll verify it. At last, we'll design a mask. We will design a mask such that if you use that mask, we will have the correct functionality. That means this mask will be describing which one has to come first and which one. This thing we have already seen in the VLS design. Now, while we are making the NMOS transistor fabrication, PMOS transistor fabrication, or total CMOS fabrication process. Okay, based on this mask only, some thousands and lakhs of transistors or ICs will be produced. So, okay, if the mask is not going to work properly, the total ICs what we have produced using this mask will be not functioning properly. Okay, so we have to be very careful while designing these masks. Okay, so what is simulation, what is synthesis, we have seen already. Simulation is to just verify the functionalities, and synthesis is to note the relation between the components. Okay, and in the physical design process, we have seen system partitioning, floor planning, placement, and routing. So post layout simulation. Okay, after verifying digitally, after doing all these functions, we have to go for layout simulation. Then after completion of all these um, post layout simulation, the layout versus DRC checking, design rule checking, analog versus digital checking, all this, if everything has completed, then only we can go for generation of GDS2 file, GDSII file. Okay, after getting that GDS file, we will give that file to the industry. We can do up to that level in our lab itself. In our college we have a lab, so we can do up to that. Okay, after that, it's the work of the industry, VLS industry, to design based on our GDS2 files. Okay, critical subsystem. What a critical subsystem is? Critical subsystem is the one which will be taking more amount of time to produce the output. Okay, you know the critical path. Critical path is the one which will be consuming more amount of time to produce. So if any signal goes into that path, it will be taking more amount of time. Generally, that will be deciding the total execution time of the program in the hardware description languages. Or if it is physically designed, it will be deciding the time taken to produce the output. Okay. Okay. Here, finally, what we do is we will be saying that it's better first go for the VLSI design hardware description language verification. So hardware description language, we have many number of hardware description languages. Generally VHDL and Verilog HDL. Okay. So VHDL is nothing but very high speed integrated circuits hardware description language. But now here we are using the Verilog hardware description language. Okay, we already studied this VHDL in the previous labs. Okay, so it's time for us to learn regarding the Verilog HDL. And the first part is we are learning Verilog as a HDL. Okay, so generally this Verilog HDL is similar to the language of C language. Generally, we'll be clubbing some ASIC characters to combine some keywords. Those things we'll be seeing later. So in the Verilog HDL, we have different levels of design description. First one may be the circuit level, okay, gate level. So what does it mean? In VHDL, we can go up to the gate level only. The primary primitives will be only the gate in VHDL. But here, we can design a circuit. That means we can write the program even for a gate also. Okay, we can write the program even for a gate, a single gate, with the help of Verilog. So these may be primitives, right? The gates will be primitives. For example, you can see here a simple inverter circuit at the switch level. We have two switches, we call transistor as a switch, right? So we have DCC, some ground, some inputs, some output, like this. Okay. So if it is up to the transistor level, we call it as up to the circuit level. We call it as circuit level. If we have the gates as the primitives, we call those as gate level. Okay. So we can have different types of models, data flow, behavioral models, and also you can also use these forms to write the programs for different circuits. Okay. So data flow model will be generally using the expressions. Okay. Behavioral level will be generally using the truth table. That means in this behavioral model we will be using if conditions. Conditional statements will be there. Case statements likewise in VHDL. Right. Okay. And we will be knowing what concurrency is. Okay. So Verilog HDL is a first one thing we have to remember. Verilog HDL is a case sensitive language. Okay. Now we will see what concurrency is. So the time taken to execute a program, if it is 10 nanoseconds, it means that in the behavioral model, if I use say some conditional statements, that means the total conditional statements all which has to execute sequentially has to run within the time of 10 nanoseconds. Do you get know what concurrency is? That means this 10 nanoseconds is decided with the help of this behavioral statements. Okay, if it is taking 15 nanoseconds time to execute that particular part, the total execution time of the total code is 15 nanoseconds only. That means all other statements will be executing within the same 15 nanoseconds time. Okay, that is concurrency. If the time taken to execute a program is decided based upon these conditional statements. So within that 15 nanoseconds time only, the total all other statements will be executing. Okay, that means all the statements will be executing concurrently. Okay, but why we are saying that some conditional statements will be executing sequentially, but we are saying the total program is running it in concurrency. Why? Because the total part where I am using the conditional statements, the total thing is considered as a single statement. A total block will be considered as a single statement, and that decides the total execution time of the program. Okay. And simulation and synthesis. This thing we already know that. Verifying the functionality is simulation, and synthesis is nothing but the identifying the relation between the blocks. So functionality verification. This thing can be done with the help of generally manually, or else we can also take the help of test benches. Okay, instead of giving the inputs manually, instead of giving it manually, we may take a test bench program for verifying the functionality. Okay, so I have mentioned here test benches. Okay, to verify the program, we call it as a test bench. Okay, so we will taking the help of test inputs to verify the functionality. For example, if you have taken an AND gate, we will be taking some inputs, either 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1. You will be identifying, you have to identify the change when the input is 1 and 1, it has to produce an output of 1. And if it is at 1 further, even though if you give the input as 0 and 1, that means it is struck at 1 there. So then what we will be doing is, generally when you write the test benches, we will be varying its states repeatedly. That means output will be changed from 1 to 0, 0 to 1 once again when we give the input. Do you get now? So what we'll do is, we first will make the output as 0, then we will make the output as 1, and for the next output, for the next inputs also, if it is 1, we can't identify whether it is working on the present inputs or else it is on the previous inputs. That means the output might have stuck there. What we'll do is, we will make that output once again to 0, then we'll give the inputs, the present inputs, and we'll verify if it is going to 1 once again. Okay, that means there is no struck at 1 fault. If not, if you are giving some input and the output is 0, it's well and good. For next output, for next input, it has to go to 1, but if it is generating again 0 and 0 and 0, that means it has struck at somewhere at 0, struck at 0 faults. So we may have the struck at 0 faults or struck at 1 faults. So when we write the test bench programs, we have to take the test inputs properly, such a way that it should, to identify clearly the output is going to vary correctly and the functionality is being verified correctly or not. Okay. So constructs for modeling timing delays. When we have the program, we may have some timing delays. Generally, they may be gate delays, net delays, and path delay, and pin-to-pin delays. Okay. So we also have some system tasks. That thing we have already studied in the last class. In the future also, we will be having that. Generally, suspending the system simulations and displaying what we have seen in yesterday's class, that is finish and stop statements, display statements, and monitor statements. These all are the system tasks only. Okay. So programming language interfaces, and we have come with the module statement. So without the module statement, there will not be any program in the Verilog HDL, right? Okay. We may have the arguments or we don't have any arguments. Arguments in the sense what we write in the bracket beside the module. Okay. They will be generally outputs followed by the inputs. Sometimes we don't write anything. So just here we can see a module may have the inputs, may have the outputs, or sometimes we may also have inouts. You see here I am writing for adder. Okay, we have module and A and B are output type. Then we are writing inouts, PQ are inouts, and XYZ like that are the inputs. Okay, so these outputs are the final outputs and these are the primary inputs. So these are the inouts which we can use either as input or either as the output also. Okay, so we call these as Lexel tokens. We have generally 7 types of Lexel tokens. These are white spaces, comments, operators, numbers, strings, identifiers, and keywords. What we have learned in the past 2 to 3 classes, we have studied this Lexel tokens only. Okay, you see those also now. So every statement has to end with end module, and it has to start with the module, and everything will be terminated with the help of a semicolon. Okay, every statement will be, you can see here the structure. Here this is the module and its name is test. So this module is to signify the declaration of a module, and this is test is the name assigned to the particular module. Okay, and some here we have some set of statements, and you can observe that this is ended with the semicolon. All the statements are ended with the semicolon, but you can see here no semicolon here. It automatically terminates. Ended module means it is automatically terminating. So here we have some module. This is considered as particular block, right? So every statement is also ended with the help of semicolon there. Here we are taking the example of an AND gate. What we can see, what we can see our human eye is only a block which is having some inputs and some output. Internally there will be a function of NAND. Okay. So if you see here, the total thing is here. If you consider this particular block which is in the dotted dark line, the same thing if you see here, what is it? Here we will be having hardware actually. For that we are describing with the help of hardware description language. So module signifies the declaration of the module, and the name what I'm giving here is NAND underscore gate. And what is the output? We have an output of O. So what are the inputs? Here we are having from I1 to I8, and we have some set of statements, and then we will be ending that particular module. Okay, so this is for termination. We don't have any semicolons there. You can see here I can use ICs multiple number of times, as you have used in your VHDL. In the structure style of modeling, first I will be writing programs for AND gate, OR gate, NAND gate, and OR gate like this, 2 inputs and 3 inputs. I can use those gates any number of times. For that, we will be using some list here, partial list of with IC numbers. IC 7430, it is mentioned for 7430 is mentioned here as NAND gate, right? So I can use the same I see any number of times, but any time and every time you have to give it a different name. IC1 is the first name what I have given. IC2 is the second name what I have given for the same IC. Likewise, I may also use IC9 as 7405. Okay, so here you can see I have a module here and some seek. I have started this module and I am running my program, and I got a call for this. See, I am calling NAND gate. I am calling NAND gate with the NAND gate name as here it is IC1 here, and B1 is the local output, and A1 to A8 is the local inputs in that particular program. But actually that IC1's inputs are just like I1 to I8. Here locally we are calling with the names A1 to A8, and their output might be some O. Here we are using it B1, and I can call once again after some execution of some sequential statements. I can call once again this NAND gate. Here you have to mention this semicolon. If it is not mentioned, it is going into the loop, right? So after detecting this semicolon, it will be is going to terminate and produce some output result, and that can be used further in these steps. Okay. So for detailed identification, you can see here how to call a program and all. There, actually the IC what I have written in the program, I am using I1 to I8 as inputs, and I have an output as O. But now in this program, I have to use from A1 to A8, and for instead of O, I have to mention B. That's the reason why I have written like this. Okay, B in the sense here B1, A1 to A8. If I use, I can use that one many number of times. So simulation and synthesis. Okay. So here this part I have skipped here. What is this usage of model sim SC 5.5? This is regarding the description of the tool. Okay, now we are not using this model sim 5.5. Previously we used to use this 5.5 where we used to call some other tool that is called Lenandro Spectrum for synthesis purpose. So we are not going to use that one. Now in the future classes I will be giving you the Xilinx most probably. Actually in our college we have Xilinx. Okay, a licensed version, and so we will be learning the Xilinx. For the time being, for learning purpose, we will see with the help of some Xilinx from Xilinx only, but student version we will try, which we can get from the Xilinx itself, and then we will go for after the colleges are getting open, we will be learning the same thing concept can be practiced on the Xilinx licensed version, right? What we had in our college, right? So that's why the reason why I have not taught you this. But anyhow, I'll be giving within short period of time the tool Xilinx. Okay, student version you can also download by yourself from the Xilinx site. Okay. Okay, the main content has started just now. If possible, we will revise in the next class, and we will continue with the new unit, second unit. Okay. Thank you. See you in the next class.